Welcome back. So let's get into offensive mode. In this video, we are going to talk about some initial access. As there are a lot of types, a lot of different types of initial access, we are going to get focused on the most common one, which is phishing attacks, web applications, OSINT, MFA. So in this video, we are going to only see about the phishing attacks. I will be talking about two different types of phishing attacks. So the first one is what we call as illicit consent grant attack. So this type of attack means asking your victims to provide some particular permissions from a legitimate page of Microsoft. So in this image, in this one, you might have seen this image, right? Where whenever you come across to a web application where it's trying to say get sign in with Microsoft or Google. So whenever you click on get sign in with Microsoft, you might get a picture like this where you are being asked to provide some permissions like view users basic profile. But what if, just assume, what if this application can be created by yourself? Like an attacker can also create an application like this, right? He can also add some features like this, like create sign in with Microsoft. And rather than asking just a basic profile, he might ask some more privileged permissions like context.read, mail.send, mail.read, notes.read.all, mailbox settings, OneDrive, and the list of AD users. So these kinds of things can also be done by an attacker. So we'll see how this attack can be done. So for this, for a tool which I have personally created, which is called Vajra, supports a phishing attack. There are multiple attacks that this tool has, but along with that, there is one phishing attack that you can also do. So this allows you to configure your identity provider, which is used for the auth purpose, and just provide your credentials like client ID, client secret, the redirect URL where the link where you want the access token, and just submit it. Once that is done, and you will get a phishing link which is like this, which is a Microsoft link, which, as you can see, it's a login.microsoftonline.com. But the crazy part is the permissions that this application is going to ask. So let me show you in action. So this is my login page of the Vajra. So let's see how it's been configured here. So if I navigate to phishing, so here you can see I have client ID, client secret, the redirect URL. This URL is going to be your application. So for now, just for the demo, uh, this is a sample page which I have created. So in the above, you can see there is a link. So whatever uh, permissions that you have granted in the application, which is done by the app registration. So here you can see, if you go to your Azure AD and navigate to app registrations, you can just create a new app, provide the name of that app, and under that, as you can see, I have some API permissions which I have provided. These are some of the API permissions. Client secret can be created by yourself. Client ID can be found here. So once you have all these things, you just need to, and also the redirect URL. Yeah, you need to configure the redirect URL, which I have. Okay. I think I have not configured a redirect URL. Let me just configure it. Check. It was okay, sorry, okay, I just clicked on the application ID URL. It was redirect URI. So if I click on here, you can see I have already set up the redirect URL, which is this. So once all done, click on this browse. You will get a sample page. Now let's say you click any link, let's this link, read more, and click on my name. And here you can see it's asking some permissions. These are those permissions which I have set up. So if I click on here, let me just make it bit like this. So you can see the logs live, and this is the accept button. So once I click this, click this accept, see what happens. And in my attacker tool, I get all the list of the files. Here it is, you can see. So in this way, you can perform the phishing attacks and gain the access tokens. Now the crazy thing is you get more than an access token. You get a refresh token. By using that refresh token, you can re-steal the data of the victims again for minimum 3 months or up to 1 year, or maybe even more than that, because refresh tokens doesn't have any expiry date. Access token does have. In this case, it's just active for 1 hour. But some access token do have a life of 1 day as well, but by default it's just 1 day. So once that done, if suppose 2 months or after 2 months you came across and you again want to check if there's any new files available, new mails available, just click on steal again, and you will get you and it will re-steal the data, as you can see. And if when you can get the access token, and these are some OneDrive files which were available, you can even actually mail someone from this user, let's say, because I have the permissions. So let's say I can compose a new mail, and I can send an email to some random person, and including the attachments, and you can even uh, add the Outlook rules as well. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do. So this was the a technique of illicit consent grant attempt that you can do by using the Vajra. There are other tools also available, but obviously since I have created this tool, I would prefer mine. So what more you can do? You can obviously exploit the data, enumerate all the environment, deploy the backdoors, and send email and create Outlook rules. And one thing to note: if you delete a OneDrive file from this portal, that OneDrive file would automatically get deleted in the user's OneDrive as well. And if you replace that file, it will get synced with the victim's OneDrive files. So this was the one attack. Second way is man in the middle attack. Obviously, you have heard this from the beginning whenever you have started your cybersecurity career. Uh, in simple words, it's just like you are sitting between a network of a client and a server. So in the image, you can see there's a user and there's a website, and there's a new connection between, and is trying to listen the traffic between the, like, trying to read all the messages basically. So in this case, what we'll be doing is we will be creating a portal. We will going to create a server, uh, which will which will act like a Microsoft page, but it's a Microsoft page, but the domain will be owned by us. So basically, it's like the victim is trying to access my page. I will hit that request to Microsoft. Microsoft will respond with something, and that response I will send back to the client. So let's say if the client is trying to register, or like client is trying to get signed in, so those credentials, those session tokens, I will get received by the Microsoft. I mean, tokens will I will be receiving from the client, and the session tokens obviously going to be received from the Microsoft. So for this, the tool that you can use is EvilGenX 2. So EvilGenX is a man-in-the-middle attack framework used for phishing. It not just support Microsoft, but supports multiple websites like Instagram, YouTube, Google, and you can also create your own custom YAML file for performing those attacks, those particular phishing attacks. What it can give you, it can give you clear text credentials, cookies, and also it will bypass the MFA. Why? Because when the user is trying to get logged in, at that time only he will be asked for the MFA. He will provide his MFA token, whatever it is, and when he's authenticated, Microsoft will send back the session tokens, and that session tokens will be read by us. Obviously the credential will not be used for us because we can't control the MFA, but obviously we have the session tokens, so we can reuse them. We can just import them into the browser, and we can perform all the tasks that we want to do. Now, if you ask me the difference between the session token, I mean the illicit consent grant attack and the man in the middle attack, then it's like, when I say in illicit consent grant attack, you get an access token which is dedicated to some particular permissions. But when I say man-in-the-middle attack, you get a session tokens. That means that session token can be reused again for all the apps which is owned by the Microsoft. Like, let's say once the user has get logged in, you can access office.com, you can access portal.azure.com, SharePoint, OneDrive, any SaaS application, any third-party application as well, which is being supported, which is being managed by the Azure. So you have access to all those applications. Why? Because Microsoft has SSO, single sign-on feature. So that's the reason. And benefit of having illicit consent grant attack is you have the refresh tokens which you can reuse again, because in this case, in the man-in-the-middle attack case, if the user has logged out, the session is expired, you can't reuse again. But in this case, you have the refresh tokens, you have the access tokens. So by using the refresh tokens, you can regain the access token again and again. There is no limit. And not just refresh token, you can not just access token. By using those refresh tokens, you can gain new refresh token as well. So that's the benefit, but you have limited permissions. That's also a disadvantage of net attack. But one more advantage and disadvantage is, in illicit consent grant attack, the domain will be login.microsoftonline.com, which is owned by Microsoft. But in this case, it is owned by us, so it can be like login.microsoftonline.com .attacker.com. So it's a long domain, and it might create a instinct for an user that there's something fishy, right? Because the domain doesn't looks like the Microsoft. It's attacker.com, or it's some random domain. So yeah, these were okay. Let me just show you how this tool actually looks like. I have not installed the tool, but I can show you from the GitHub. Okay, we will Gmx2. So this is how it looks like. Trying to zoom in. Yeah. So here you can see we have a clear text credentials for the Google account. We have the username, password, and you have these tokens which has been captured in a time, obviously. So in this way you can, and all this data has been stored in a DB, which is a SQLite DB. So this is how you can use it. The installation is a bit tricky because you need to manage your DNS, your domains, subdomains, and all those things. So it's going to take a bit time. But once it's set up, it's worth using it. And please note, this is only for the educational purpose, for doing your ethical red teaming, ethical phishing, ethical and everything ethical. Nothing should be done for the for harassment to someone else. Please note. So that's for this video. In the next session, we are going to see we are going to talk about the web application, how to gain about the web application, and OSINT. We are going to talk about these two things, web application and the OSINT, because okay, because why? Because I will talk about this in the next video. Thank you.